Hello, welcome to Aimee Nolte Music. I got a letter from someone who watched the first two videos in the tutorial series about how to comp on the piano. Do you remember them? It was how to walk with your left hand bass line, and then the next video was about how to add the 7 and 3 so that you could sit at your piano and sing a song, a melody to some song, and accompany yourself. Really easy. Do you remember? Well, I hope you remember. They're actually the first two videos in this playlist. So there are many ways to comp for yourself. And this is just one way to play the walking bass line with a right hand voicings, you know, like I showed you with the 3 and 7. Today, we're going to add a couple of notes to those voicings. We're going to add the 6 or the 13 and the 9 to the major chords and to the dominant chords. And then to the minor chords, we're going to add the 9 and the 5. It's just going to be the next step. There are more ways to comp, and I promise to show them to you, but this is what comes after the 3rd and 7. I don't like to use the real book very often, but we're going to use it just so you can get a nice look at All of Me. I'll show you a close-up in a little bit. All of Me is a good song to accompany yourself on when you're learning, and for the rest of your life, really. But it shows you all the kinds of chords that we're going to need to know. Major chords, dominant chords, minor chords. So I'm going to show you what your finished product will look like when we're all done today, okay? Here we go. All of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? It's low, huh? Take my lips, I wanna lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? All right, I'm going to teach a lesson to you guys right now. I'm going to treat you just like you're at my house, sitting next to me, and we're having a lesson. Types of chords. I know you probably know this already, so I'm going to take you through it really fast. Major chords. They're written like this. You can just have, I'm going to use C for my example, all right? You can just have a C. You can have C, M, A, J. You can have C, M, A. You can have C, capital M. You can have C, capital M, 7. The capital is the key for major, all right? The way that I like to do it is C triangle. You can also have C triangle 7. All of these things mean C major. And there's one more I'm going to show you. It just goes like this, C6, well, and C6, 9. Those all mean the same thing to us in jazz, all right? Just going to have to trust me on that. They all pretty much mean the same thing. All right, next kind of chord we have is minor. Minor chords can be written like this. They can be written with a little m. They can be written mine, like that, or just M-I, but the key is the little m, all right? You could also see is CM7 or CMI7 or CMIN7. I prefer the dash. You see this a lot as well. You can see other numbers here. You can see a 9. You can see an 11. They all mean the same thing. When we see a C minor chord, we're going to play C. I'm going to show you what we're going to play, but we're going to basically play C minor 7. Okay, the other kind of chord that we're dealing with is dominant. Dominant chord is notated like this, and then anything higher. You can see a C9, a C13 often. Anything higher than a 7 means dominant. Now, let me teach you what these 3 chords mean. So the notes that we need to voice a C major chord, we need the 3, the 7, we'll call it the 6, you can call it the 13, and the 9. All right, those are the notes that we need, the 3, the 7, the 6, and the 9 for any major chord. All right, there are other options later on, but right now that's what I'm teaching you, okay? Now, minor chords, we're going to use the 3, the 5, the flat 7, and the 9. All right, dominant chords, the 3, the flat 7, the 6, I kind of wrote them out of order, it doesn't matter too much, and the 9, all right? Now, if you've studied any kind of classical music or you just play pop or rock piano, you're probably wondering, Aimee, if you're showing us C major, why aren't we doing this? Well, the answer is because this is a very classical approach. It's also a very rock and roll approach. Did you know that? Classical, rock and roll, same thing, 3 notes. In jazz, that sounds too boring for us. We're not going to go all of me like that. It's just too boring of a sound. So we need these other notes. We need the 3rd, or the 7 and the 3rd, and the 9 and the 13. All of me. That sounds much more interesting to us. Actually, this is about as boring as it gets. I'm teaching you the most basic. If we're talking about a C minor chord, that's how you would play it if we're talking classical or rock. But in jazz, we're going to play the 3rd, the 7, the 9, and the 5th. So it sounds like that. Sounds really nice, doesn't it? Dominant chords are almost the same as a major chord. There was our major chord. The only thing different in a dominant chord is the flat 7. Like that. Let me scoot down on the piano just a little bit because I want to show you the other options. There are other ways to play these chords. So when I just showed you that C major chord, we started with our thumb on this B. But you can also put your thumb down here on the E note. Again, you play the 3rd and the 7 and the 6 and the 9. So there's 2 ways. There's this way and there's this way. All right? Either the 7 is on the bottom or the 3rd is on the bottom. That's the rule. So we did the same with the minor chord. That was our minor chord, right? You hear that? It sounds like I Feel Pretty, right? I feel pretty from West Side Story. You can take the 3rd and put it on the bottom. That's the other inversion. Looks like that. Dominant chord. Remember it was here. All you do is you're going to take that A, you're going to put it there, you're going to take that E, you're going to put it there. So we've got 2 inversions of every chord to learn, and it takes a while. Of course, we can't just talk about C, right? I mean, when you're practicing these chords, you're going to have to play a C major, and then you raise everything a half step. You can play the root with your left hand down here too. C major, you raise it, D flat major, you raise it, D major, you raise it, E flat major, like that. You can take yourself through all of them, and it's not, it's not fun, I guess, but I'll show you ways to make it fun in later videos. Let's take a look at what I've written and the chart, the actual chart. So let's look at this first chord in All of Me. It's a C6. Remember where, over here? There it is, C6. It's a major chord. All right, so we're gonna need these notes in our right hand voicing. What's the next one? E7. That's easy, right? That's a dominant, just like that. Okay, so we're gonna need these notes, but of course, we're gonna need them in the key of E. Next one, A7, same thing, dominant. Here we've got DMI7. What kind of chord is that? Did I write it? No, but I told you about it. Remember, you have an MI7 or MIN7 or just an M7. It's a minor chord. Same thing, we've got a dominant, we've got another minor. D13. What's that? You remember I wrote it over here. Anything higher than a 7 just means dominant. Okay, then we've got minor, dominant, major, dominant, dominant, minor, major. Now this is one that I didn't show you yet. I'll show it to you in just a little bit. F minor 6. Then we've got this. Oh, look at this. What's that one? It's like that, right? Dominant. Oh, that's a 13. We talked about that. Major. Okay, we got it. We covered it, right? With these things, all except for that F minor 6 chord. It's going to take us through the whole song. This view of the piano that I've given you right here, this is a middle C, so all the way down from about an E to about an A or B. This is the range that we want to be comping in with our right hand while our left hand is walking a bass line. We have a choice to make. Our first chord is a C6. Are we going to put our hand in this position with the E on the bottom or with the B on the bottom? I'm going to choose this one. The more in the middle of the piano you stay, the less muddy it will sound. So this is going to be the first thing we do. We're going gonna play this chord for 2 bars. Our left hand, you remember our rule from before, is just 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, right? I'll drop it an octave. So we can do this. Remember that? Remember how this one just almost hits at the same time as beat 4? That can be your rhythm for the first 2 bars. All of me. Well, you know what though? You guys are gonna have trouble with that. So before we do that rhythm, you might just want to do whole notes. All of me. Why not take like that? So let's do that. Let's do whole notes. Okay, our next chord is an E7. How are we gonna get to E7? What even is E7? All right, we've got an E right here, right? So we have to figure it out. Here's our E. We need the 3rd. We need the dominant 7, or the minor 7, the flatted 7th. And we need the 6th. And we need the 9th. Now the way to figure these out, if you're a little bit slow at it, is to just play a major scale. There's your 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your 6. There's the 7, but since we're dominant, we're going to flat that. 7, and then here's the root, and then you keep going to the 9. 9 is the same as 2, all right? I could explain all of this theory a little better, but for time's sake, I don't think we need to. So there we go, 3, 7, 6, 9. Now we can put the D on the bottom, can't we? We talked about that. That's the 7, and instead of having the 3rd on the bottom, we could put it right there. It would look like that. But let's see, here's how we decide which one we're gonna do. Where were we already? We were here. So the thing to do is to decide which one's closest, all right? So we look at here where we are here. There's a G sharp, that's the 3rd in the key of E, and there's a D, that's the 7. Either one of those can be on the bottom. Now, which one's closer to B? Let's count half steps. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, they're the exact same. So it doesn't matter, either one. You can pick either one. You can do this one, or you can do this one. But I'm gonna pick this one, all right? So, all of me, why not take all of me? Now we've got an A7 chord coming up. So what do? We're in the key of E here. We're gonna think, all right, what notes can be on the bottom for A7. There's the 3rd, there's the 7. Oh, that's really close to where we just were, right? Because we were just here. So we're gonna put the 7 on the bottom. You see how nicely that just leads? And there's our A7 chord. Can't you see I'm no good with, and now we're on a D minor. And there's the 3rd of D minor, so we just do this. Out you. So we've got this nice downward motion. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Like that. What comes next? It's Take My Lips, right? And it's an E7 chord. We just played that. So we'll go right back to where we were, and then we have to decide for A minor. Let's look at it. Okay, this is where we were. Take my lips, I want to lose them. We need the A on the bass, and then what are our notes for A minor, right? We've got to figure them out. We need the 3rd, we need the 7, we need the 5th, and we need the 9th. And what order do they come in? Well, where were we? We were just right here on the E7, right? The 7 is the closest. So we're gonna go 7, 9, 3, 5. I feel pretty again. I wanna lose them. Here's a really nice thing. The next chord is D13 or D dominant. So the coolest thing is that this is a 2-5 in the key of G, and all that happens is that you move one note. And there you are. They have 3 notes in common. So this was the 7, the 9, the flat 3, and the 5 of A minor. But when we go to D7, D7 classical is like that, right? We're gonna have that 3, we're gonna have the 7, the 9, and the 6 or the 13, just like this. And it was so close to A minor. There was A minor 7, and here's D7. D7. Isn't that nice? So, lose them, take my arms, I'll never... Now, do you remember where we were for D minor before? It was just here. It looks like an F major chord in root position, F major 7 chord. Because it's the 3rd, the 5, the flat 7, and the 9. Lose them. We have a G7 right now. And it's so cool. This is another case where all we have to do is move one note. Lose them for G7. And then we're back to the beginning. And it puts us right here. That's the closest because we have our thumb here. So if we follow the progression that we just did, when we get to your goodbye, it's the easiest path so that we don't have a big jump is going to be here. And that makes us a little muddy, right? It's such an easy fix though, because do you remember we started the song right here? And now we've walked our way all the way down to here. Well, do you remember that the second chord is an E7? And when we were up here, I said, it's the equal distance from here to here and from here to here. So it's cool. All you got to do, even though we're down here, we're just going to jump to there. Left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? That's all just the same as the beginning. Now we've got an F6 chord, which is the same as F major. So, what do we see? We see what's the closest that we can move? F major needs an E because it's the 7, so that's really close, right? So let's move there. You took the... Now we've got F minor 6, and this is one that I didn't teach you about. For an F minor 6 chord, well, for an F minor chord, we need these notes. We need boom, 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 and boom. We need all of those notes, right? This order usually. So where were we for that F major chord? We were just right here. You took the... We could get real close part. But do you hear how this note is the melody note? That's why they wrote that it's an F minor 6, because that note is very strong in the melody. So it's nice to also play that note with the piano. And there's a few ways to do it, just to make it simple for you. You took the part. I'm just going to have you do that, just 3 notes. We're going to have the minor 3rd, the 5th, and the 6th, like that. You can make it a little colorful by adding the 11 if you want. You could even put the 9 on the bottom. Part. That would be okay this time. Usually only the 3rd and 7 on the bottom, but sometimes if you think it sounds okay, you can make an exception. And later on, you can make exceptions all the time. But right now, and really for the most part, you're always going to do a 3 on the bottom or a 7 on the bottom, almost always. Okay, so there we are with this one. Part. Now we have E minor coming up next, and that's really close. The 3rd of F minor and the 3rd of E minor, they're very close to each other. That once was my heart. This is another case where we're only going to have one note move. It's that one, because it's a 2-5 in the key of D. Once was my heart. Do you remember when we just did 3rds and 7s? Once was my heart. That's how it would have been. The voice leading is so nice, going from a minor chord to a dominant chord. That's a 2 and a 5 in a key. So what I'm talking about is if we're in the key of D, right? Our 2 chord is E minor. Here it is in root position. And then we have an A7. And then we have an F major, or sorry, D major, right? Okay, so that's why, I mean, it just sounds good. We talked about it before, we use it all the time, and it's just very nice voice leading. So remember we were here with the part that once was my heart. We have one note that switches, and then we're just like the other D minor 7 we did. So why not take all of me, right? The G7, really easy. We just have one note that moves. Why not take all of me? And we're back down there. And then when we start the song over, we can hop up to here. And then it puts us in our starting position right up here where it's not muddy again. So we do a 2-5 to get us right back to that. You see where that 2-5 is? Let me show you. Put it in parentheses to show you the end of a song right there. So that's what we'll do to get back to the beginning of the song, because it sounds nice. And the 2-5 in the key of C will lead us right to the major chord at the beginning of the song. Okay, so very slowly, I'll take you through it again. This is how it'll look. And when I played it the first time, I didn't quite follow the bass line rules that I showed you before, but I'll follow them now. We'll go really slow, okay? Got it? As you get a little bit more comfortable with it, you can change up your rhythms a little bit, and you can start to do the rhythm that I taught you. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Like that. You can add a little bit of rhythm, but it might take you a while. These whole notes and these slow walking pattern that I showed you, they're going to be really good. They're going to be all you need. And trust me, when you add your voice, it's going to trick your brain and you're going to have a hard time. So keep it nice and slow. It's okay. You won't be as fast as I am yet, but you're going to get there. So nice and slow. And you have to play your melody notes sometimes so that you know it. All of me, right? Why not take, and then you're going to have to think, I know you are, you're going to have to be like 3, 6, flat 7, 9, root. What's my melody note? Play it. All of me. And I won't lie, it's going to be some tedious work. But one way to fix it is, this song is the fun part, right? Putting these chords that we talked about into a song is the fun part. The part that will actually help you, it'll help your fingers to get trained to know what to do better, is to actually just do some exercises. So a good exercise to do is to take this major chord voicing with the B, D, E, and A, and just play a 1, 2, 3, 5 with your left hand. And then raise it up a half step. And then raise it up a half step. And say the names as you're going through it. D major. E flat major. Like that. And after you've walked through chromatically like that, you should do it in the circle of fourths. It's always a great idea to do it in the circle of fourths. So then you're C major. And do the exact same thing. F major. B flat major. Like that. So you can see how they look, you can see how they feel. I would walk through all of those when you get to the piano. Every time you sit down, walk through them all, going up chromatically, and then walk through them all in the circle of fourths. And then so that you don't get bored, go ahead and play all of me. Yeah, that'll help you. All right, I know I've given you quite a bit to think about today. Please let me know if you have any comments. Really, I just treated you like you were a student at my house. That's how we would do it if you were here. So that's what we did. We've got thirds, sevens, six, and nines, or 13s and nines now that we're working on. We're adding them in there, and you are able to accompany yourself. And you're sounding more and more like a pro every time. And I promise to keep showing you new things. So we're not only going to be walking a bass line and stabbing our chords with our right hand for the rest of life. I'll show you new things as you get better. But for now, here you go. This is the third video in the series about how to comp for yourself while you sing. And I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends if you did, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on Aimee Nolte Music.